Live with us this morning, Paul Niland, who is a British citizen who's lived in Ukraine for 19 years. Morning, Paul.
Good morning to you.
Thanks very much for your time. Thinking about all that's happening, thinking about the UK government advice for British citizens to get out, what are you going to do? Are you staying or are you going?
Well, I'm staying here. This is my home. This is where I live. As you just mentioned there, I've lived I've lived here for 19 years. Sorry, I had something in my throat. I've lived here for 19 years, and I'm not moving on. If I have to join the territorial defence regiments that are being created now, or have been created in the last few months, then that's what I'll do as well.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of experience do you have? Is that not a sort of terrifying prospect?
It's not a terrifying prospect. No, I mean, you ask about my experience. I don't have military experience, but I'm in decent shape. And just yesterday, in actual fact, I acquired a bulletproof vest and ballistic goggles, and I looked at where to sign up and when to sign up. And I'll be going to the Kiev City Administration sometime this week, and I'll be volunteering to participate in that. I participated in the revolutions that we've had here in the time that I've been here as well, and those are experiences that equip you to deal with difficult times, and we faced a lot of pressure during the revolutions, and we've faced pressure now as well, and we've been facing pressure for the last 8 years since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began.
What kind of things did you do in those revolutions?
There were different events. The Orange Revolution was a very peaceful kind of carnival atmosphere, and people were standing around and listening to music. The Revolution of Dignity, which went on 3 times longer, it was 93 days. That was a difficult, very difficult time, and there were times when there was fighting that broke out between the protesters and the authorities, and I wanted to be there to witness it. And since the revolution, I've become a writer on Ukrainian affairs as well, and so I've actually documented it. I've written for example, the Atlantic Council and for various other outlets as well about my experiences during the revolution. And in fact, I've written a lot about the causes for this war, and how it began, how the entire momentum that we're now seeing coming to a head, how it's all evolved.
And I'm sure that was, especially the 93-day revolution that you mentioned there, incredibly terrifying, having protesters fighting with authorities. That is a different kettle of fish, though, isn't it, to a Russian invasion? Here we're seeing briefings in the newspapers of indiscriminate ballistic missile attacks, hundreds, if not thousands, of people dying. What do you think when you read those reports?
So the death toll already from Russia's war against Ukraine is 15,000. And so if they do enhance their invasion, then we're looking at a much higher death toll. And there are all kinds of possible scenarios. And you mentioned indiscriminate attacks. I read a very in-depth analysis by Alexander Vindman, formerly of the US Army, and a witness in Trump's first impeachment. One of the things that he was saying there is that there could be attacks on key infrastructure points like the Ministry of Defense, like the Ministry of Veterans Affairs, and that kind of thing. Yes, of course, it's very worrying, and that is the reality that we have already been living under for several years. The Russian buildup today is larger than anything we've seen before, but it's not new. They had 100,000 troops on the border 7, 8, 9 months ago, and we expected then that there was going to be an invasion, a further invasion. Is it going to come this time? My hope is that the international pressure that's been put on Putin, including with the phone call with President Biden yesterday, my hope is that the calculus inside of the Kremlin has been changed sufficiently, and that they'll decide not to go ahead this time.
And if not, and if an invasion does happen, which the UK Defence Secretary this morning is saying is highly likely, you said you're worried. I wonder how scared you are, and I wonder how scared you are for your own safety.
So Ben Wallace has played an excellent role over the last few weeks in the comments that he's been making. That's the first thing that I want to say. The second thing is about how worried I am. I'm Kiev is actually a very peaceful place still today. It's a very calm place. People are going about their daily business. But I'm not particularly worried about the possibility that Kiev might be occupied simply because there are 3 million people in this city. And it would take an enormous occupation force to attempt to hold this place, especially with the civilian resistance that is going to happen. And, I mentioned the events of Maidan, the revolutions. In those events, millions of people took to the streets to protest against, first of all, the attempt to hijack democracy, and then against corruption. We will take to the streets again, and we will resist whatever goes on.
But
My
is that
fear
not?
is,
But is that not a more dangerous prospect? A city of 3 million people like Kiev resisting occupation again. That sounds like a recipe for lots of injury, lots of death.
it's a very dangerous prospect for the potential occupiers. Yes, extremely dangerous. For us, we're standing our ground. We're not going anywhere. But as I was going to say, my fear actually is for the people in the east of the country, where Russia already occupies a part of the Donetsk and Lugansk oblasts. If war breaks out from those occupied territories, then it's the people there in the east who are going to be bearing the brunt of it. And yes, it will be catastrophic in that region if Russia decides to launch an all-out attack and to expand out of the territories that they're already controlling.
Paul, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you.